Every day, hundreds, if not thousands of people who believe they have a great story idea head for Hollywood. Hollywood is a city ever on the lookout for great story ideas. Bill Lishman, who lives up here near Oshawa, is a great story idea. Bill didn't go to Hollywood. Hollywood came here to Bill Lishman, and they renamed him Father Goose. Last summer, Hollywood came out here near Oshawa, to where his home is, to shoot a $26 million film on the Bill Lishman idea. But which idea? Bill Lishman, the metal sculptor? Bill, this goes back, oh, there you are. This goes back to the beginning. This was your first serious occupation, metal sculpture, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And in driving in on the property, they're all over the place. Could you describe them for us?
Well, they're mostly the leftovers, the ones I never sold.
I see.
No, they're actually the colored ones are all from Expo 86. I did a big piece at Expo 86, and now it lines my driveway. And this piece is a self-portrait that I did for a film, a 3D IMAX film called The Last Buffalo that's still showing.
And lots of people in motion, nobody in repose.
Yeah.
People climbing and pulling things and with wheelbarrows. And
yeah, well, it's a celebration of legs.
Lakes.
Legs.
Legs.
I didn't see any lakes on it.
I see. And whereabouts is the house?
Right behind you here in that hill.
In the hill?
In the hill. Yeah.
You mean the house is underground?
It's underground. You want to slide on in? The trick about going underground is getting enough light and avoiding moisture, etc.
First of all, how'd you start?
Well,
did you dig a hole?
No, we took the top off the hill, essentially, and then built a wire frame of the whole house and then covered that with concrete.
Did you design it all?
Yeah.
So this is your creation?
Yeah, and a lot of the design was running behind the construction, but...
Something you've had in your mind to do for a long time?
Yeah, for about 17 years,
Really?
I thought about it. I was in a cave in England, and it was carved by a monk back in the Middle Ages, and I was amazed at the space and the feeling in it. And then built a couple of igloos, and I was amazed at the space and feeling in that, so sort of as a combination of those two.
And amazed I hear about the light in an igloo.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The light in an igloo is fantastic. It's the sphere, you know, the light reflects inside that sphere. If you have a box, the light gets lost. So if this was a perfect circle in here, you could let some light in and it would stay forever until it all disappeared in your eye.
How long did it take you to build it?
About a year and a half.
How much did it cost?
Multi-thousands.
Multi-thousands. Why circular? Why?
Well, again, if you're building underground,
yes,
you're subject to tremendous pressures, and so the dome is like an eggshell. You can build with much less material. Also, if you can't see out, you want to make it interesting. And round like this is far more interesting and also you have the light from above, right. So it's like being outside, but you're inside.
And I suppose a certain coziness about it.
That's right.
Good.
That's right.
Tell me what's exciting about the kitchen.
The refrigerator how do you put a square fridge in a round room? You don't. You put a round fridge in a round room, right?
Ta-da.
I mean, refrigerators are designed wrong as far as I'm concerned. So this is much easier than getting down your hands and knees with all the cold air slipping out. And you know, it probably cost me 3 times what a regular fridge would, but it works.
What's that up on the wall there, Bill?
Well, that's a plagiarism from Lascaux, the cave in France where all the cave drawings are.
Yes.
I thought it was fitting to do a replica of that in here in this 20th century cave.
Nice. Okay, let's move on to the living room. Mm-hmm. We're passing a bedroom here. I understand there's 3 bedrooms.
Yeah, this is really the guest room.
That's a guest room. That's massive, massive. Absolutely, and I see it has a porthole
Well,
on the side.
eventually we'll probably turn that into a dining room, and the idea there is to have a projector in the center of the room that projects through, 180 degrees, so you can replicate anywhere in the world by projecting that on the dome above you.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, every room has a skylight.
The biggest thing about being underground is to get light in, so and you get 5 times as much light from a skylight as side windows, so this has worked out.
And all the theories have proved out to be true. You are warmer here, and it is more efficient and less costly.
It is less costly to heat. And it is more efficient in terms of the capital expenditure because it's a prototype. In 1,000 years, it'll pay for itself.
Let's move on to what? Carmen's room.
Okay.
This is your daughter.
Yeah.
I wish my daughter kept her room as nicely as this.
Well, I think she knew you were coming.
Did she? Yes.
I said, you guys got to come once a week, and then the room would be kept quite tidy.
Once again, a skylight.
Yeah, she takes colored cloth and puts over there, and so it changes the whole color of the room. It's quite fun.
Oh, is it nice?
Yeah.
Yes.
And everywhere we go, we pick up little masks for a collection.
The bathroom, which is more than a bathroom.
Yeah, well, it was. When I'm not an architect, so when I was designing the bathroom, we drew a circle on the big concrete pad. We're going to put the bathroom this big, and my wife says, "Oh, that's too small," and so we kept expanding. Now we could hold a festival in here.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But that's all right. We can put our whatever
Exercise
that is
machine.
exercise machine in
yeah?
there. Yeah.
That's for your wife, you said.
Yeah, she likes that.
This is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, and this is the master bedroom.
Yep.
25th. Did you do that?
No, that was done by Jane Buckles. That was a present to us for our 25th wedding anniversary.
We haven't time to see it, but just tell the audience that he has a...
Yeah, you press this button and the TV comes out and you watch TV Ontario.
Really? Yes,
Yeah.
that's great, Jess. You love these things that rise out of nowhere, eh?
Well, it's a way of doing it.
Which way do we head now? The solarium.
Yeah.
Isn't this lovely? Must be breathtaking in the,
Well,
in the
you
spring and summer and fall.
Yeah, you get changes of seasons here. It's quite lovely. I mean, while we're underground, we can always see outside, so that's and of course, if you're on top of a hill, how could we close this off?
No, that's right.
Yeah, it's lovely.
My understanding is that house over there was the original house.
Yeah, that was when we first moved here, and that kind of inspired this house because that was so hard to heat.
Well, maybe this was the reason that Hollywood came, the man who built the house underground. But my suspicion is it's about a man who loved to fly like a bird. Bill, it's been said that you always wanted to fly like a bird. Was that anything unusual to you, or was it the kind of thing that we all did as kids, wished we could fly like eagles?
No, I think it's universal. I think all kids want to fly, and I'm no different. I just worked harder at it, maybe.
But you did join the Air Cadets?
Absolutely.
You did try to get in the Air Force?
I did try.
But?
I'm colorblind.
Colorblind?
Yeah.
But you did learn to fly?
I did eventually learn to fly, but it was through hang gliding rather than flying regular airplanes.
I see.
Yeah.
Now, this thing about Canada geese. Mm-hmm. You wanted to become a father to a group of geese in order to try to teach them something about migration patterns.
Well, it didn't really start that way. I just wanted to fly with them first.
Okay.
And then out of that grew this idea that possibly this is a way to teach birds that have lost their migration route a new migration route.
And they do lose.
They do. Well, absolutely. There's a number of endangered species around the world that require their migration route in order to survive.
Don't know how to get back south.
That's right. That's right. It's passed on from one generation to the next, and those that have lost it don't regain it unless something shows them the way.
Can every goose lead?
Well, I think so.
Yes. So you can make anyone a leader.
Well, I wouldn't say you can make them a leader. Some are born leaders and some aren't, just like in humans,
Yes.
you know.
Okay, so this was a plan. First of all, just to fly with the geese,
That was the start, right?
and then it developed into trying to do something
Well,
for them.
in 1988, I first flew with the geese, and I logged a number of hours flying with them. And then it took until 1993 until we had all the geese in a row, you might say, that we were able to attempt a migration with them.
Okay, that first experience then of flying with them, did it turn out to be everything you thought it'd be?
And more.
You felt
And
like
more.
a bird?
Close. I felt like that we had a long way to go to be like birds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was really a kind of a dream come true.
Yes, it really was. I mean, to be up there and fly with them in close proximity was a fabulous experience that no one had ever had before.
All right, now you're going to try and do something, find a safe route for them and teach them something. Imprinting.
Mm-hmm.
How do you bond with them? How do you become the leader that's going to teach them this safe route to the south?
Well, essentially what you do is play parent role. You try and fit into their pattern. So when they hatch, you're the first thing they see, and they think you're the parent. So
That's a fact.
That's a fact, right.
The first moving object they see when they're born, they think is a parent.
Well, that's what would happen naturally, you see.
Yeah.
And because they're hatched under their mother. But if you're there instead of the mother when they hatch, then they just accept you as the parent, and you maintain that parental role as they grow.
So you sat there for what? Hours, days, till they broke through the egg?
Well, you incubate them, and it takes a while for them to hatch. You know when they're going to hatch, so you're there when they do hatch.
And they see you, and you're Father Goose.
Yeah, they relate to you right away. Yes.
Now it's 10 weeks before they can fly.
That's right.
And in that 10 weeks, you're with them almost constantly?
Well, you have to spend as much time as possible with them. You know, you at least 2 or 3 hours a day. The more time, the better.
And that's playing and running and all of those kinds of things and feeding them. And
That's right. Again, trying to fit into the pattern that they would normally do if they had a natural mother.
I see.
Yeah.
And along with this, I've seen pictures of you carrying a tape recorder with the sound of a plane.
That's right. Well, of course, if you're going to fly with them, they have to get used to the aircraft and the sound of the aircraft. If you introduce it to them too late, then they become afraid of it. And it's the same with the wing. So you have to have something that resembles the wing, and the sound is very important. To have that identical sound is important.
How do you get them flying, first of all? Never mind flying with a plane. How do you get them
Well,
off the ground?
they know instinctively. They know to fly at a certain point. Their wings are developed and they're ready to fly. So if you have to fit in again with them, and at the point they're ready to fly, you're going out there flying with them.
And did you ever practice a kind of a takeoff with a hang glider, or did you actually go up in your ultra?
No, you taxi with the ultralight up and down the runway, and they follow the ultralight. And eventually they're flying along with you when you're on the ground, and at the point when they're ready to leave the ground and take off in the air, you take off with them. That's essentially how it works.
So the autumn of 1993, you're ready to try the experiment. And the
Yes.
experiment is exactly what?
The experiment was to try and take 18 geese to Virginia and let them overwinter there and see if they will return to Ontario the next spring on their own.
On their own. That's terrific.
Yeah.
We got Joe Duff here. Now, I understand that the first dramatic thing that happens to you both is, and the 18 geese, is you've got to fly across 30 miles of Lake Ontario.
That's right. 37 miles.
37 miles
And
of
they
Lake
count.
Ontario.
Yeah.
And I don't swim, so.
Is that a challenge, first of all, for the ultralight plane?
It isn't really a challenge for the ultralight plane, but the thing is you're on a little bit of technology going across there. If the engine fails and you go in the water, you got maybe half an hour of survival. So there's that fear.
Yep. Is it a challenge for the geese?
No, they can fly that distance.
We didn't know that, but it wasn't.
It wasn't, huh?
No.
Our flight across the water was, what, an hour and 35 minutes the first year, I think?
Our total time was just over 2 hours from here to where we were going. So
Now, the ultralight plane flies at about, what, 35 miles an hour?
well, with the geese, it's about 30 to 35 miles an hour. It'll do 45 or 50.
And that's their cruising speed, 30
Yeah.
miles an hour.
132, roughly.
Yeah.
When they're in the air, muscles working in the back?
Oh, you can see it. It's spectacular.
Oh, yeah. Everything's working. If they're flying right beside you, they're working because they're in air that they don't have any lift from. But a lot of them will fly off the wing because they get the lift off that leading edge, and they'll just cruise there with their wings out, not working hardly at all. And the same off the wingtip. There's the vortices off the wingtip. They'll ride on the on those nodes of the wingtip vortices.
It's like surfing on the wake of a boat, same thing.
I see. And body working, head still?
It's amazing. It's just like a gyro. It's incredible.
Feet do anything?
Sometimes they splay their feet down when they're younger, and when they get older, they tend to bring their feet back up into their tail. When they get hot, they'll open their feet up to cool themselves. And their mouths open, so you can kind of see them getting tired. And if they get tired, you can slow down and drop a little bit and maybe pick them up on the wing and give them a ride sometimes. So you can watch them after a while, their mouths are open, their feet are down, and after a few minutes, their feet come back out, their mouths closed, and they're flying. You can carry them a bit.
Could they have gone all the way without a stop?
All the way to South Carolina?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No.
These are adolescent birds. They're not full adults. I don't think so.
Bill, I have seen footage of you practicing hang gliding. This is quite incredible. How did you not kill yourself?
Good question. Actually, you're flying fairly slowly, and
but it's the landings I've seen that are unbelievable.
oh, flying never kills you. It is the landings.
Whiffling. Whiffling. What's that?
Well, that's the way the geese lose altitude by pulling one wing in and flipping upside down almost, and then losing some altitude and then pulling back out again.
Never losing speed.
Never losing speed, or gaining speed. That's the trick. Not gaining speed. They're in the same position, so they all can go down together like that if they're coming in on an approach and they have to lose altitude. Aircraft can't do that. You can't put your nose down. You have to drop flaps and do all kinds of things. So
The V formation. The leader does all the work. The one in the back has all the rest.
Yeah, basically, that's how it works in the wild. Our experiments are a bit odd because we have an aircraft, we're the lead. So in the wild, the lead birds would be working the hardest, the ones at the end would be working the least. In our situation, we can carry the first 5 or 6 birds, so it kind of reverses the scenario. So it's...
When they land, reverse propellers. They have brakes.
yeah, right.
Back thrust.
That's interesting. Right. Sunset, October 25th, 1993. The journey's over.
Right.
It worked.
Yeah, we got to Virginia, Airlie, Virginia, and it was a beautiful day.
Left the geese there, you came back, but did they come back the next spring?
Well, we weren't sure. We went down looking for them, and while we were looking for them, they arrived back home.
Really?
Yeah.
So in that sense, it worked.
Yeah, it worked well.
They had learned a pattern.
They had.
Gentlemen, what's next for you?
Whooping cranes, we hope, long term. We're starting a pilot project this year working with sandhill cranes as a precursor to reestablishing whooping cranes, a secondary flock of whoopers. That's the hope.
And
long term.
Same goal to try to teach them some safe migratory routes?
Well, it's probably really most important for whooping cranes because there is only one flock in the wild, and that could be wiped out any day. So if we get a secondary flock that will migrate, then at least there's some backup.
Takes the pressure off the main group, yes.
And this here is going to be part of that?
Well, this is an aircraft that flies much higher and faster than our thing, but it's important to know where the birds are. So a lot of the birds have radios on them that we can track them with. So we equip this aircraft with antennas, and we can find them from 30 miles away.
I see.
So that's what the purpose of this aircraft is.
And you're hopeful about the coming experiment?
Oh yeah, I'm very excited about it.
Yes.
I think that's the culmination of the entire experiment. I mean, geese have been basically guinea pigs for us. It's always been directed at a more endangered species, and probably the whooping crane is the quintessential endangered flying species in North America, I think.
But we really just do it for fun.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
it is fun.
Yeah.
I wish you both the very best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bill, this is your daughter, Carmen?
It is.
Carmen, you grew up with geese. What was it like?
Well, I used to be afraid of them because I'd always run away and they'd try to peck at my bum. And then finally one day my dad just told me to stop, stand in front of them. I stopped and stood in front of them. They saw me standing there and they just ran away, so I started chasing them.
How old would you have been then?
4 or 5.
4 or 5?
Yeah.
We're on to Hollywood now, and you've been there. I want you to tell me and our audience what Hollywood did to this story? How did they change it?
Well, first of all, they killed out my mom.
Nice. I mean, she just dies naturally, though. There's not a murder or anything like that, no.
No, but she died in a car accident.
Oh, I see. Very early on in the film?
Actually, at the very opening.
Very opening, okay.
And I lived in New Zealand.
Right.
I haven't seen my dad for 7 years.
He's wandering, is he?
Right.
Okay.
I come back to Canada, and I find the geese myself. My dad doesn't know about it. And I raise them. He tells me about tendinectomy and migration and all those kind of things. So we just decided, he just said, let's build an airplane.
Oh, I see. In a certain sense, in you're training the geese, you come together again?
Yeah, right. That's it. It's a father-daughter story.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
So it's a nice story, but it's not your story.
Nope.
What was it like being part of, the making of a film?
I'd never get lonely. I'd never, there was always somebody around, and everybody was really nice and everything.
It really is a community. It is a family.
Yeah.
And they find it hard to split at the end. Don't
Yeah.
they? Yeah. You have a role in the film?
I wouldn't quite call it a role, but
No?
just the slightest part.
Who's that?
That's Anna Paquin. She was in the piano.
And she plays you?
Yeah.
Does
in
she
the movie.
play you well? Were
Yeah.
you satisfied, yes?
Yeah.
Turned out to be a pretty nice person?
Mm-hmm. She's a very nice person. And that's her and Jeff Daniels. Jeff Daniels played my dad in the movie.
Yes. How did you feel about that?
Well, after I saw him in Dumb and Dumber, it was a natural.
But is it kind of exciting to see somebody playing yourself on the screen, or is the story so different that it really doesn't?
It's not really playing the part of me, roughly, but
Yeah.
not really.
And this here?
That's her and Jeff Daniels again in a plane pretending to fly.
It didn't bother you that they didn't follow the storyline of your life?
No, I had the veto over the script if I thought anything was wrong in it, but I realized that they had to make a story more than just flying south with birds, etc. And they did a really good job. I really liked the script and I liked the way the actors worked with it.
And they were sensitive to you, ask you for your...
Oh, yeah. Carol Ballard, who was the director, he wanted to make sure that it had credibility all the way through. So, when it comes to, he'd say, what would be the line you'd say here? For example, in that photo you just showed Carmen about them in the aircraft when they were learning to taxi, well, what they did, they put me in with Anna, and I talked to her and showed her how to taxi it, and they taped what I said, and they just used that verbatim, and Jeff studied what I said and used that. So
I see. As far as flying these ultralight planes, they had no problem finding pilots and things like that?
Well, it was myself and Joe Duff and Jack Sanderson that did all that.
Oh, you did all of that?
Yeah, we did all the flying. There's two different types of aircraft in it, and one that Jeff supposedly flies and another one that Anna flies. And so I flew the one, of course, that Jeff flies. And
now, out of all this has come an illustrated Father Goose book.
Yep.
Now, this is the real story.
That's
Yes.
the real story.
And you're featured very much in this story, right?
It has a lot of my dad in it too.
A lot of your dad in it, too. And this Father Goose story, I understand that this came after the film.
the book is written sort of concurrent with the film.
So once this is released in the fall, I mean the film, Father Goose and you two are going to be on everybody's tongue, right?
Well, I'm not sure. Maybe.
What's it been like growing up with such creative? First of all, tell the people a little bit about what your mother does.
Well, she knits fur.
She knits fur.
Literally. She cuts it up in thin strips and she just knits it.
And she's in New York right now showing her wares, and she has about 160 people work with her that she designs all kinds of garments using this technique, and it's sort of the rebirth of fur in an environmentally correct way.
Back to my question, Carmen. What's it been like growing up with very different, creative mom and dad, living underground, flying ultralight planes and playing with little goslings?
When I was a little girl, all my friends, all their parents worked at GMC. And so I'd come home and say, why can't you just be normal and work at GMC? And I would say really, really strange things. And they're just like, oh, you don't understand.
I'll bet it hasn't been dull.
No, it hasn't. To me, it feels perfectly normal, but I guess it isn't.
That's nice. Any ideas what you'd like to do yourself? Hollywood bug gets you? Think maybe you'd like to be a movie star?
Yeah,
Yes?
that's what I thought for a little while. I'm not sure. Sometimes I think I should change my mind, though, too.
Oh, sure you will. But you're not going to work with geese.
Possibly.
Possibly?
Oh, yeah?
Probably just,
I bet you whatever you do, or whatever you decide to do, it'll be different.
probably.
Probably. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Carmen, for letting us into your home and sharing this incredible experience with all our viewers.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, really nice to meet you both. And now it's billboard time on the program when we repeat names, titles, and addresses mentioned on the show that might be of help to you. Father Goose, The Adventures of a Wildlife Hero is published by Little Brown Canada and sells for $29.95. The illustrated Father Goose by Shelley Tanaka is published by Little Brown Canada and sells for $19.95. That's our program for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. My thanks to all our guests on a foggy, foggy day from somewhere north of Oshawa, like McManus. Have a good week.